Okay, so picture this. You're getting ready for the new school year and you're looking through your student files. You see a medical condition you've never even heard of, ring chromosome 20 syndrome. If that name is totally new to you, you are definitely not alone. So over the next few minutes, we're going to break down exactly what this is and, more importantly, what it means for you and your classroom so you can feel confident and ready to support your student from day one. Right? It's that moment of uncertainty that so many of us have felt. That little pit in your stomach when you think, okay, where do I even start with this? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out, together. So here's our game plan. We've laid out 6 key parts to take you from just understanding what this is to really knowing how to respond. We'll start with the basics of this ultra-rare condition, look at its key symptoms, and figure out how to spot seizures in class. Then we'll shift gears into practical, day-to-day strategies, and of course, a clear emergency plan. So, first things first, let's start with the absolute basics. What in the world is ring chromosome 20 syndrome? You'll probably hear it called R20 for short. At its heart, it's actually a pretty simple genetic glitch. See, normally chromosomes look like little straight lines, kind of like shoelaces. But with R20 syndrome, one of the chromosome 20s has its ends fused together, forming a circle or a ring. And that simple change in shape is enough to kind of scramble the body's genetic instructions. And when we say this is rare, we really mean it. We're talking fewer than 1 in 100,000 people. So it is completely 100% understandable why this might be the very first time you've ever come across it. Now, this right here is probably the most important thing to grasp. Yes, epilepsy and seizures are a huge part of it, but they're really just the tip of the iceberg. What you can't always see is how this syndrome impacts a student's ability to learn, their memory, and even their behavior. And that's what's so crucial for us as educators to recognize. To make this a little easier to get our heads around, let's think of R20 as a triad of symptoms. There are 3 core challenges that you'll most likely see in the classroom. Just 3 key things that really define what a student with R20 is going through. Okay, first up, you've got the seizures, which are often really hard to control. We'll get into those in just a second. Second, and this is so important for teachers to know, is something called cognitive regression. A child might be developing totally normally, hitting all their milestones. But then, as seizures start, they can actually start to lose skills they already mastered. And third, you might notice behavioral changes. The syndrome can mess with the brain's frontal lobe, which could make a student who was once pretty calm seem really confused or suddenly impulsive. All right, let's talk about maybe the most critical piece of this for any teacher. What do these seizures actually look like? Because I can almost guarantee they're not what you're picturing. It is so easy to misinterpret these seizures. You might just see a student who looks like they're daydreaming or, just zoned out. They might stop talking right in the middle of a sentence, but this isn't them not paying attention, it's a non-convulsive seizure. For just a few seconds, their brain has literally switched off. It's a medical event that looks exactly like a behavioral one. And that same shift in how we see things applies to exhaustion. A lot of kids with R20 have seizures all night long, even in their sleep. So if a student falls asleep in your class, it's almost certainly not laziness. It is a deep, profound medical exhaustion. Okay, so knowing all that, what does it mean for us, for our teaching? How do we adapt? Let's get into some really practical strategies you can start using tomorrow. And you'll see, each one of these strategies is a direct answer to the symptoms we just talked about, right? If their concentration is all over the place, well, we can repeat instructions. To fight that medical fatigue, we can schedule in some rest breaks. And to help with a brain that's just processing things a little bit slower, we can break down big projects into smaller, more doable steps. It's all about creating small wins. Of course, beyond the day-to-day support, every single person in the building needs to know what to do if a more serious seizure happens. Think of this as your essential safety protocol. The steps for seizure first aid are pretty universal, and they're simple. Rule number 1, and this is the most important, stay calm. Your calm presence sets the tone for everyone. Next, make sure they're safe. Move chairs away, put something soft under their head, and never try to hold them down. It's also super important to start timing the seizure as soon as it begins. And afterwards, it's all about gentle reassurance and giving them time and space to rest. So when does it go from something you handle to a medical emergency? The rules are crystal clear. You need to call for help if a seizure goes on for more than 5 minutes, if another one starts right after, or if the student has any trouble at all with their breathing. Okay, to wrap things up,
Let's just do a quick fire round on a couple of key questions to really make sure this all sticks.
This is usually one of the first things people want to know. Is there a cure? And the honest answer is no, there is no cure right now. This is a lifelong condition. So the whole focus is on management, and that's a combination of medical treatments and, just as critically, the kind of dedicated educational support we've been talking about to give that student the best possible quality of life.
So, if you could only take one thing away from all of this to help a student with R20 in your classroom, what should it be?
It really comes down to one word: flexibility. Your ability to adapt is everything. Being flexible with deadlines, patiently repeating information, understanding that they might need a break, those are the most powerful tools you have. It's all about building an environment where learning is still possible despite all the challenges. And really, that kind of leads to a final thought. As a teacher, you're an expert in your subject. But for a student dealing with a condition like R20, maybe the most important lesson you teach them won't be from the textbook at all. It's the compassion, the patience, and the incredible flexibility that you show them every single day.